commentary you can use. Before I get started, I want to say thank you all so much for continuing to support the channel, for subscribing to the channel, sharing my videos, watching my videos, leaving comments, sending me emails. I appreciate your support so much. So listen, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I want to invite you to subscribe. That way you can stay connected and informed whenever I do upload new content every week. So all you have to do is hit the subscribe button. Once you do that, make sure you hit all notifications. That way, no matter whether I go live or if I upload new videos, you'll be notified. So listen, I'm not going to beat around the bush today. I want to get right into it. Now, you all know for quite some time, those of you all who have been following the channel or watching the many videos I have right here on the channel, you all know that last year sometime, I believe it was, that I reported on the supply chain crisis. The fact that during the time, there were ships that were carrying the shipping containers and they were docked at ports, for example, like in California, Los Angeles area. And due to the fact that there were not enough workers at the time to unload these shipping containers, the ships were getting backed up. The containers were getting backed up. The ships couldn't dock. They couldn't unload the containers. So you all have seen right here on the channel where I posted pictures of boats just, waiting to dock at the port with all of these shipping containers there, right? And, even as I have continued to report, over time, they have said that the supply chain crisis was getting, better. Even our president and his administration, they intervened to provide what they said was support and relief at these congested ports. And so here we are now. Today is Friday, July the 22nd, 2022. And right now we have another crisis that's going on at the ports. Of course, I'm going to give you some information about that. But I want to let you know that the supply chain crisis may be getting worse. Okay, so the information that I'm reading, I have a few articles that I'm going to refer to. But the first article I want to start with is from Reuters. Okay, now this information came out on yesterday, July 21st. And the article says that a trucker protest, okay, so the truck drivers, there's a trucker protest that has halted, okay, that has stopped cargo movement at California's number 3 seaport. Okay, so I'm going to bring you some information about that. Please make sure that you like this video, share this video. I feel like this is something that we all need to know about, especially those of us who, like myself, we're buying things that we need, preparing for, things that are going on, things that are to come. We need to know what's going on. Okay, so again, I'm on talking about the trucker protest. Thank you to those of you all who are watching now live, or if you're watching by replay, please say hello in the chat. And I want to thank you again for your support. So according to this article, again, it comes from Reuters, which is another news source. Okay. Protesting truckers, the article says, stopped traffic on Wednesday, okay, Wednesday of this week, at a Northern California port, one of the busiest in the United States, the article says, as they demonstrated against a new state labor law that makes it harder for independent truckers to operate. Okay, now listen to this, y'all. So the article says that drivers picketed gates and blocked other truckers from hauling cargo in and out of the port. Okay, the protests in Oakland, the article says, began on Monday and have grown larger and more disruptive with each passing day. Okay, now the article says that late on Wednesday, Port of Oakland Executive Director Danny Wan acknowledged protesters, and I quote, frustration with California's, quote, gig worker law, as it's referred to, and warned that a prolonged shutdown could, and I quote, damage all of the business operations. Let me start over. Late on Wednesday, Port of Oakland Executive Director Danny Wan acknowledged protesters' frustration with California's gig worker law, as it's referred to, and warned that a prolonged shutdown would, and I quote, damage all the businesses operating at the ports, okay, and cause customers to shift cargo to rival seaports. Okay, what do you all think about this news so far? Now, the question I have is, why are the truck drivers protesting? Okay, now I'm glad that you may be wondering the same question. Let me give you some information about that. The article says the protesters, the truck drivers, and those who are supporting the truck drivers worry that the law, which could soon be put into effect, will impose hefty costs on them that will slash their earnings. Now you got to think about it. In this, in today's economy, where we're seeing inflation all across the board, high food prices, high gas prices, just the cost of it costs more to live, doesn't it? Who wants to take a cut in their wages, in their earnings, in the current economy that we're in? Okay, so I could already see where that could lead to some concerns, some frustrations right there. Okay, now the SSA Marine, the article says, which manages the largest terminal at the port of Oakland in the San Francisco Bay Area, closed operations on Wednesday due to the protests, which ground business at other marine terminals to a virtual halt. So basically what they're saying is, because of the truck drivers protesting that this new gig law is going to actually cut back on their wages, they're saying that, pretty much, business activity has shut down at this terminal. Okay. The article says the SSA and Everport terminal managers sent International Longshore and Warehouse Union, or ILWU as it's abbreviated, dock workers home for safety reasons, a source familiar with the situation said on Wednesday. Okay, terminal representatives did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The new law, formerly called AB 5, okay, now in some of the pictures you can see signs where people have written AB 5, and they may have put a circle around it and a line through it to say no to AB 5. The article says the new law, formerly called AB 5, sets tougher standards for classifying workers as independent contractors. Trucking industry legal challenges delayed enactment of the law for more than 2 years. Okay, but the U.S. Supreme Court declined to review the case on June 30th, clearing the way for it to go forward. All right, backers, which include the Teamsters and the ILWU, say AB 5 aims to clamp down on labor abuses and push companies to hire drivers as employees, which would enable them to join unions and collectively bargain with employers. Okay, some 5,000 truckers work at the Oakland port, the article says, which is a major hub for agricultural exports, including almonds, rice, and wine. Okay, the protests in Oakland follow actions last week at the nation's top 2 seaports at Los Angeles and Long Beach in Southern California. And I've reported on both of those ports in the past right here on the channel. Okay, the 3 California ports handle about half the nation's container cargo volume, the article says. The trucker protests come as the ILWU, which represents dock workers at those and other U.S. West Coast ports, is in high stakes contract talks with terminal operators that employ them. Okay, protest organizers, the article says, say their actions will continue until they get an audience with Governor Gavin Newsom, who did not respond to requests for comment on Wednesday. Okay, Governor Gavin Newsom, from my understanding, is the governor of California. Okay, on Monday, the governor's Office of Business and Economic Development had this to say. And here's a quote: "Now that the federal courts have rejected the trucking industry's appeals, it's time to move forward." Okay, so again, as I shared in the beginning, based on my research, there were talks, there were actions taken months ago by President Biden and his administration to provide relief to the shipping industry, to in an effort to get these goods to their final destination so that consumers like you and I could purchase them. And to help things run more smoothly, or help things to run make it a smoother process at the ports. And so now it seems like in some way, just based on this information, it seems like the government, or for whatever reason the U.S. Supreme Court denied to hear this case, is very concerning. in one way, it seems like that you're trying to help the shipping industry. But then on the other side of it, it's still being affected because now, because of what's going on with the contract talks with the truck drivers, it seems like now it's almost like it's back to square one because things aren't operating. So that was an article from Reuters. Here is an updated article again from Reuters, and it says truck blockade of major California seaport stretches into day 3. Okay, so as of today, this is the third day that this is going on. Let's see. It says, according to Reuters, independent truckers protesting California's new gig worker law blockaded California's third busiest seaport for the third straight day on Friday, which is today, delaying shipments. Okay, this is what you and I need to think about: delaying shipments at the state's top agricultural export hub and adding to U.S. supply chain headaches. Okay, truck gates at all 4 Port of Oakland marine terminals remain closed to truck traffic on Friday. Oakland International Container Terminal, or the OICT as it's abbreviated, which handles about 70% of port cargo, restarted some work on ships, a port spokesperson said. Okay. Again, it talks about how they are protesting the AB5. Let's see. Idling the 2,100 trucks that haul cargo to and from the Northern California seaport each day is hindering exports of fresh beef and pork, dairy products, and nuts, as well as imports like electronics and construction supplies. So you all know, back in one of my older videos, I'll go back and I'll post the link in the description or towards the end of the video. But I told you all that on these shipping containers, they contain electronics, furniture. But at this particular port, they have truckers who are hauling fresh beef and pork, dairy products. These are things that quite naturally could spoil. So, what's going to happen with that? Does that also mean that the cost of beef, pork, dairy products, and nuts are going to increase? I have some questions about that as well. And then also, as I've already reported, it just, gives some background about what actually the protesters are concerned about. So the article also says that backers say it will stop companies from using those workers to avoid paying minimum wage, workers' compensation, and other employee-related expenses. The independent drivers that AB5 aims to protect say the law would bury them with expenses like rental equipment and insurance that were formerly borne by the trucking companies that contract them for jobs. Okay, so quite naturally, all of those costs will take away from their earnings. Okay, so how do you all feel about this information? I definitely feel like the truck drivers do have a valid concern. This is their way of living. You have to think about them. You have to think about that. This is their way of living. This is how they help provide for their family, their loved ones. So certainly if they feel like in any way that the way they provide for their loved ones, they make a living, they earn money, if they feel like that's threatened or will be reduced in any type of way, then I feel like certainly they have a way to, speak out, let their concerns be known so that some type of mutual understanding or agreement could be reached. So I definitely feel like this is a story that we all need to be concerned about, because we do rely, whether you know it or not, we rely greatly on our truck drivers to transport the things that we use every day, or however often that we use these things. We rely on their help, their service, to basically help keep our country running in so many different ways. So they are to be respected, I feel like. My hat's off to and thank you to anyone who was watching who is a truck driver or has someone in their family who is a truck driver. I definitely feel like this is a concern that needs to be addressed. But at the same time, we have to, from a business standpoint, to keep our economy going, we have to keep the ports in operation as well. So I'll definitely be paying attention to this story. I hope that some type of mutual agreement can be reached so that way both parties on the business side at the port as well as the independent truck drivers, that way they're both happy and satisfied. Okay. You all let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is a story I feel like that affects all of us, and I want to hear from you. All right. So y'all take care. Stay tuned. I'll be back with more information, news, and commentary you can use right here on Andrea Speaks TV. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.